Guild Wars 2 PvP is without a doubt one of the most enjoyable game modes available to play. Especially because getting started in PvP can happen by the time that you're level 2. The game suddenly deems you worthy of getting in there and start throwing hands. In this video, I'm going to cover why you should play player versus player and how to get started. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Guild Wars 2 content. Getting into structured player versus player is actually very easy. After your character completes the initial instance quest, you can join the game mode by going up here to the top left menu and clicking the 2 swords. And then when you are on the menu, click join the PvP lobby, which teleports you to the heart of the mists. What's interesting is that once you are here inside the PvP lobby, you are artificially boosted to level 80 and you have everything available to your account activated, meaning elite specializations, relics, and more. They're all at your disposal. Everything here is equalized, meaning that just because you have some ragtag pieces of gear on your actual character doesn't mean that you aren't on the same level as someone who has full legendaries. Let's go ahead and talk about your setup before getting thrown into the mix. There are a couple of settings that I have found in my time while playing player versus player that have greatly helped me out not only with gameplay, but understanding the flow of combat a lot better. The 3 main ones that I'm going to look at is the field of view, double tap to evade, and the camera shake. Field of view allows you to see a much wider range on your screen in matches, which in my mind lets you see oncoming threats a lot better. Helps you position better against enemies and not miss things that you shouldn't be missing. This one is kind of optional, honestly, but I like it this way. I like to be able to see things. The second one is the double tap to evade. Good gracious, disable double tap to evade. I cannot tell you how many times I've accidentally rolled off a cliff or used my dodge roll incorrectly because I hit my movement key twice in succession. My dodge button now keybound to Q for more precise movements. Lastly is camera shake. While personally I think it's a lot of fun, it can make tracking other players in PvP matches a bit more chaotic. Ideally, just adjusting these 3 will greatly help you out in your initial matches. So let's go ahead and get you set up with your build. Your build in PvP is oriented around a number of different factors, so let's go ahead and take a look at each one. Starting out with your amulet choice is where 95% of your stats come from, and as such, it is typically the most important choice in your build that you can make. Having the correct amulet can make your build go from mediocre to being completely broken. There are a few that you can choose to purchase to unlock, but mostly all of them are free and they're available to swap in and out outside of the matches. Relics were introduced during Secrets of the Obscure and they have only since expanded. Each of these have unique effects or passives that can be manipulated when they are triggered, so I recommend reading through all of these to figure out which one would fit your build perfectly. Very popular right now is the Relic of Fireworks. Runes used to have secondary effects, but now they are simply stat boosters or other various improvements like more condition damage, increased duration, and or movement speed. Sigils, on the other hand, these are affected when they are put into your weapons, and they have unique effects either passively or when you switch to that particular weapon. Sigil of Energy and Sigil of Cleansing are always a popular choice. The vendor here, Evan Fleshcore, allows you to buy any weapon and have its desired effects for your build, of course, despite the weapon only being a white tier with no other stats. Remember, these stats come from amulets and other places. So here you are just using whatever weapon is going to get you the capabilities that you were after. Having the right traits can make all of the difference. So typically we look at having skills that offer cohesion between all the other listed variables here. But what is really important is how you can change your specialization. If you own Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, or End of Dragons, your class can spec into their respective elite specializations from here. This is also an excellent way to trial out some of the elite specs before actually leveling the class to max. This also allows for more options of your build, as each one of the elite specializations include unique skills, healing, and elite options. Your active skills are flexible depending on what you want to play, and you only have a choice of 5, 1 heal skill, 1 elite skill, and 3 utility skills that can be used. Now, while I am very much of the mind to say trial and error is the best way to go because I'm that kind of person, I wouldn't recommend getting started in Guild Wars 2 PvP completely blind like that. I have linked in the description several websites that offer tested PvP builds that you can trial and see what works for you. Now again, this is simply my preference as playing PvP. It has a steep learning curve, and I would rather you get the feel of what you can do and have a build that works for you without getting thrown into the mix and absolutely getting turned off from this game mode. Select a build that works for your class and your playstyle and go from there. To help this out, there are a few roles that designate the playstyle that you will want to fit in-game. Roamers, side noders, or duelists, team fighters, or supports. Roamers, the goal is to overwhelm an enemy who's already engaged with one of your teammates. Look to have burst and high mobility to cover ground. Side noders or duelists are solo players who use strong single target damage and those capabilities to eliminate enemies that are off alone, and they can usually fend or capture a node all by themselves. Team fighters are exactly that. They excel at strong, consistent damage to deal with multiple enemies at a time with their allies. Usually ranged and strong DPS is a goal here. Support is, of course, focused on supporting allies, keeping them alive and crowd controlling enemies so that their teammates can capitalize. I recommend trying out a bunch of different builds and roles and playstyles to see what fits for you. So during this time, it's going to be very important that you focus on not taking excessive amounts of damage. And there are three major things that you have to get used to make sure that doesn't happen. First is the dodge roll. Most enemy skills have a bit of a wind up or an animation that will allow you to dodge roll just in time to evade said attack. Say for example, if you see a virtuoso about to throw a bunch of daggers at you, you can dodge roll and avoid a good chunk of that damage. This takes time and sometimes a knee-jerk reaction to a dodge roll too early. It's a learning curve, it is. But paying attention to animations and dodge rolling at the right time can make a massive difference in living longer. The second bit is crowd control. Most PvP builds have 1 to 2 stun breaks built into their skill choices. This is a skill that will break you out of any hard crowd control. Stuns, daze, floats, knockdowns, knockbacks, what have you. These are windows where you can take immense damage, so get used to having them ready to be popped at any moment. Now, this shouldn't always be a reflex, of course. Sometimes you get knocked away and there is no follow-up pressure, so you can hold your stun break, but in some cases, that patience may cost you. This is where experience comes in and you'll learn more over time. Lastly, condition cleansing. Most builds have built-in condition cleansing from a variety of sources, the main one being like the heal skill, which provides usually a very quick cleanse. If you have 10 stacks of torment and bleeding, perhaps an on-demand condition cleanse is a good idea. But if you just have weakness and a stack of poison, perhaps not. Look for the skills that remove a condition and learn when you can best use them. Okay, so now once you have all the pieces of your build together, there is a section over here in the Heart of the Mist that is oriented around dealing damage to NPCs that represent classes. This should only take a couple of minutes of practice, but you'll get to see how your rotation goes, how you can time your dodge rolling, and dealing with an enemy who actually fights back. I try like all of my builds here against these enemies to see what works and what doesn't, and usually I can find a problem here before I'm faced with actual real-life players. So let's go ahead and talk about the maps that you'll play on. There are 3 styles of maps that you will play in unranked and only 1 available in ranked: Conquest, Stronghold, and Push. Conquest has 3 separate nodes that require players to maintain control of to build up victory points to win. Capturing and holding these nodes grant more points, but you can also get points from killing an enemy or completing a map-specific objective, like a 4th node that appears in Revenge of the Capricorn. Each one of these maps has a unique bonus event that occurs that can influence the outcome of the match even more. Conquest is the only style of map available in ranked PvP as well. Stronghold has a single map that is similar to that of like League of Legends. The objective is to kill the enemy's lord, and to do so you have to push through all their walls and bases to get through. You can gather resources to spawn more NPCs, to either kill guards or destroy gates. This one's kind of a meme, but I like this one. That one's fun. The newest one available is Push. Push is a payload style map that has you maintaining control of a single moving node that must reach the entrance of the other team's base to win. This one is actually a lot of fun, and being the newest, it's great, but anyway, here are some tips to go ahead and get you started in PvP. Learning rotations is the key to winning matches. I don't mean simply your DPS rotations. I mean understanding where you can be best applied to at any time. You will want to try to find ways to be the most effective at any given moment. If you just capped home and you see your team cleaned up mid, head off over to the far node and see if you can at least decap it. Learning the rotations and where you can be best applied is critical to your success in this game. If you are just getting into PvP, there are usually guilds and other players who will be more than willing to help you learn. There are many Twitch streamers that feature Guild Wars 2 PvP at high levels, and this can be an excellent place to observe and watch and learn. This one is kind of my personal preference, but I would suggest hiding chat from the match in at least your first few matches, because sometimes people get spicy. It's also player versus player, and that makes sense. So why go through all of this? Why start playing PvP and structured PvP? So in my opinion, it is one of the easier ways to get ascended level gear as well as legendary gear through a moderate collection. Now this comes with, of course, the caveat of being able to play ranked player versus player, which requires you to gain some levels in unranked first before you can start recording matches. Once you can play ranked, however, you can earn materials not only for the legendaries, but just other materials in general through your playthrough. Not to mention that each one of the chests offer a bit of a financial gain, either silver or the end chests earning gold. You can also earn Grandmaster marks, which allow you to purchase ascended level armor and weapons. However, the armor can only be turned into legendary gear. To mention that there's the PvP reward tracks that offer a bunch of gear, loot boxes, and even legendary crafting materials like Mystic Clovers. Otherwise, you can earn titles and some minis by participating. It's also a solid way to understand the combat of the game, but it also has a really good feeling when you win. Truth be told, you are going to make mistakes, and that is a good thing. But honestly, working through structured player versus player and learning how to manage your positioning and your character is one of the most satisfying things in the game. Just know that everyone you see who is good at the game started right where you are right now. So take your time, be patient, you'll get there. If you are still getting used to Guild Wars 2 and you are interested in making legendaries, you can click this video here to learn more. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.